Okay, so I am going to review for my Objective 2.3 for the program goals. Let me just look at that one. I am going to do students will apply research-based instructional design models and techniques to design and facilitate content and learning experiences for their peers and for an authentic learning context. So what I'm using for this is my course that I created for my English 4 students in my Wake County public school system job. I chose pathway number 3 because I already had parts of the course done. I just needed to tweak it and make it better. And so this is my Education 658 course creation submission, my final product here. Well, almost final. I'm waiting on some feedback from peers for the final module piece of this, and then I'll be able to tweak it just a tad bit more. I need to add a couple of rubrics, I know. But anyway, I wanted to reflect on and show the improvements that I made. So here is my course that I had. You can see my homepage there was this. And so I really spent a lot of time trying to make this more interactive and better for students, more visual. And so each one of these links out. Added a start here button, a syllabus button, my daily announcements, which is really important to my course because I have a blended course. And so half of the 90-minute block, they work independently in the course, and the other half they work live in conference. And so in my conference, it would look something, click here to enter conference, which would look something like this, where I have the agenda up and I would be talking with students here. This is, in this case, there's only one student in. There's 5 in this class. So this is some missing students there for various reasons. But and this is to check your grades and inbox. I couldn't figure out a way to connect the inbox to the picture, so I put inboxes on the far left toolbar. You've got mail, check your inbox daily, and then the modules. And then I added my information at the bottom with a reminder, and these link out to the various places as well. So I really spent a lot of time working on improving my splash page or welcome page here. And so I'll just show you the start here. If you click on that, it goes to the getting started. I added in these text bars. You can see here, if I go to getting started, I have no textual direction or anything, and so I added several text banners, and these are the things they need to look at, and then these 5 sections are items in which they'll have to complete an assignment. And so a lot of this is nuts and bolts, but practice sending a message, make sure they have a Blogger account ready to go, make sure they joined our Common Lit course, which we use a lot, and then we also do Edgenuity, which is a supplementary program that we use in our at-risk programs in Wake County Public Schools. And so I go ahead and get that taken care of up front, and then getting to know you as an assignment, kind of like the discussion board, but they complete like a wanted poster thing, what they would be wearing, who they were last seen with, things like that. All right, so let me go back to that home page. Okay, for my syllabus button, I'll click there. I also added in a visual syllabus, tried to improve that quite a bit and make it very concise, especially since I'm live every day. I went into much more detail for what each one of the units required by going through the modules for units 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. We went over the course expectations. I added the course overview in for what Wake County Public Schools would like for us to note about English 4, as well as North Carolina Department of Public Instruction. I created a new visual for the grading categories as far as like how much each semester counts, 40%, and then the final exam counts 20%, and then the grading breakdown. We have major assessments, minor assessments, and then some quizzes. And so that's kind of where I left my syllabus. I'd like to add in a little bit more detail, maybe even videotape me going over the units 1, 2, 3, 4, going over the syllabus so that I have that in there. So I'm planning on recording myself the next time I go over the syllabus to add in a video syllabus as well. Okay. And my daily announcements. This is a great tool that I use, and I think I stopped posting them after the 21st for Thanksgiving break, but see, like for Wednesday, this was a Thanksgiving countdown calendar. I couldn't figure out how to make it embed, but it tells them exactly what they need to be working on in their independent work and then their live conference. And then when I go into the live conference, I also have the agenda on the board for the live portion. So that's there as well. Okay. All right, let me go back. So each day, these announcements go all the way back to the very first day. I even do like teacher work days and give them like a little tidbit of extra information, like the history of Halloween or something like that. So every day they can check their agenda here. If they miss class, they can just go right back to it. And then for my conference, that just takes them to the actual conference, and you click join, and then they'll come into conference. So that was nice that I figured out how to link that there. I didn't think I could do that. The check your grades probably won't work for me because I'm an instructor in the course. Well, actually, yeah, so it takes you, if you were a student, you would only see your line there. So, and then you've got mail. Obviously it's not a link. That was a feedback I got from everybody. That's why I added in this inbox is on the far left toolbar, because I couldn't figure out how to link it to Canvas. Even copying the inbox there wouldn't work. So, and then modules. So you can see I spent a lot of time on my getting started module. I also tweaked my unit 1, all my units. I tried to make them more organized and more of a similar pattern, and so I added in like unit 1 is the narrative and the essential questions, and I tried to also add in like why do we need to tell stories, why do we need to care about a narrative, values of stories. Let me just go back out of here. It's going to take, you can just see the subheadings. It's probably going to take too long to go through everything, but anyway, I tried to have in here a welcome slide, did the little history of English, some background, some anticipation guides. I tried to add in more Padlets, more interactive type slides. I also added in PowerPoints that I used in conference, just so they'd have a copy of that. And then for my hero assessment, I added in some choice. I tried to add in choice to each assessment. And so here they could argue Beowulf or Sir Gawain as an epic hero, or they could create their own original modern day hero, and then they had to create how is this hero reflective of our modern society, and put them through like a hero's journey type thing. So and you can see here I need to add the rubric in, and then this unit will be pretty strong, I think. Okay, so that's unit 1. And I really, for unit 2, Macbeth, we do a lot of that in live conference, but I did do the welcome to unit 2. I added in some, I hadn't transferred it over here yet, but the unit essential questions added for unit 2 are in my other course. I need to add that page and make a note of that now. But you can see I did go in and do like the time period, who was William Shakespeare, Globe Theater, what's up with language. I did some insult things that we use. I thought kids would my students would really be interested in, like a lot of words that came from Shakespeare that they may be familiar with, even slang. There's been a little bit of slang there. And so for the welcome unit 2 just has essential questions and why should we read Shakespeare? Why should we care about Shakespeare? And then we have a Macbeth anticipation guide, the full play, and then the discussion questions covers the entire play. And then for the final assessment, I really like this one. I did a lot of work on this one. I gave a lot of choices. So they have to do part one. They have to choose the essay. And then for part two, they get to choose two of the four options to earn their 25 points apiece. And so this was a really awesome experience for most of the students. They liked having the choice. They liked being able to choose. And so I tried to add that in, and I need to add in that rubric here too. So Unit 2 was much improved. We also did an act with some discussion boards on each act. We had an Act 3 reflection. We had a lot of discussion boards going about like who's the bigger villain in Act 1, Act 2, Act 3, Act 4, Act 5, why, things like that to try to help prepare them for that unit assessment. And then we also did some predicting. We did some Padlets. But a lot of these were live, linked right out from the conference. And so this, Macbeth is not meant to be studied in isolation. Most of my students would struggle a great deal with that. And so a lot of our discussion boards helped with that and keeping them engaged. And I could link those out. I did link the discussion boards out in the announcements, but they're not in here. And then in Unit 3, we've got poetry. Why should we study poetry? What is poetry? A bunch of poetic devices. We did some rhyming activities. We just looked at Shakespearean sonnets. We looked at other sonnets. We did some understanding rhetoric. And then we did a great project, the Music is Poetry project. And the Music is Poetry project, I modeled it and added an example in here. Let me see if I can show you this. This is one of my students' favorite projects. And they're actually choosing song lyrics, and once I approve it, they have to come in and analyze the song lyrics. They have to find 3 examples of figurative language, and I gave an example. I used the song Special K, and I modeled the example, and it showed what I wanted them to do. A tone. They had to do the tone, subject, and theme as well. And then they had to present this to the class. And we did this on a shared Google document, which is also linked out. And so here's my sample, the 3 examples. I did simile, imagery, and an illusion, and then I explained it. I used the quote and then explained it. And then I did subject, tone, and theme, and explained it. And so this was a great thing for students to work on together. We also looked at persuasive techniques, etc. Okay, and so they each shared their slide on our Google Share. And then, let's see, I beefed up Unit 4 quite a bit. Welcome to Unit 4. This is on satire. Why it's important. What is satire? Satire in real life. Added in your worst nightmare. What would be your worst nightmare of a world in preparation for 1984? And then we looked at George Orwell's worst nightmare and what it would be like if the government controlled everything. It's like a simulation of a guy ordering a pizza and the operator knows every single thing about him. Then we looked at who George Orwell actually is, got a little bit of historical background on him, an introduction to 1984 that I did in conference, but I went ahead and added the PowerPoint here, and then students would imagine they're the author. What would they warn people about, 40 years in the future? We did an anticipation guide that they came back to after they read to see if anything had changed. We looked at the context of 1984. They had the full text. We did the first 8 chapters. They do response and analysis questions on it, and then they do some chapter summary group work in which they read and report out, just for the sake of time. And it's really difficult to have enough time to cover an entire novel, especially online, when sometimes the only time the students have access is for the 90 minutes you have them in class, so it's difficult. The satire assessment and a 1984 final assessment, and I also added a satirical tune. And so both of these assessments offer choice, and the satirical tune allows them to create, which turned out really well. They really got into that. And then Unit 5, one of my favorite units, the Multimedia Senior Project, they have an essay in which they do a final essay on external influences in our life thus far. Most of them talk about like a relative or a friend or a certain choice or decision. And then part 2 is a multimedia presentation. I give them the guiding questions for that. And the multimedia presentation is basically a showcase of these answers, and they have to reflect on their choices, and then they also have to come up with something in society that they feel is important. And then they have to find research and find data on it and then find a solution, like something the world should pay more attention to. And then part 3 is a creative piece in which they create a symbol that reflects the past, present, and future um, of them. So like each individual student creates a symbol that reflects the past, present, and future you, right? Okay. And so a lot of them, like, imagine if you had a tattoo, then some of them are very literal and they'll do like a caterpillar, a cocoon, and a butterfly. So some of them pick 3 things and they have to write a little paragraph explaining it. But a lot of them will find something they like online or hand draw something, or and just explain how it reflects, them. And a lot of most of my students have been long-term, all of my students have been long-term suspended. So they all have something that they can definitely talk about as far as obstacles and overcoming stuff. So this is always a unit I kind of wish I could do first, but I get students throughout the semester. Most of them don't get suspended right away. And so if I moved it to the front, I'd miss a lot. But I always learn so much about my students in this process. And so that's my course in a nutshell. The only thing I'd like to add is I need to beef up my rubrics, and I really want to add in, I did it up here, North Carolina final exam. I ended up putting it in the getting started here. With the standard course of study, just made sense to put it in here, but I did released items and stuff. I'd like to do like a final exam review module, and I'd also like to add in here's the released items and information about the test and stuff. I'd like to add in some practice exercises and some review and just some how-tos, videos, just some course references and links and stuff in there. With things like how to use BibMe or how to use MLA documentation. MLA, how to cite using MLA or APA, etc., and links on the how-tos for that. So anyway, I learned a lot from doing this because I made this course from scratch myself, and so I didn't really have anybody that I could ask to say, hey, take a look at my course and tell me what you think. So I didn't really spend a lot of time evaluating it. What I did was I made it from scratch. Started out fall of 2016, and then spring of 2017, I fixed stuff and added stuff that didn't go so well, in fall of 2017. I kind of built it as I was teaching. And so I tweaked it a little bit in spring 2017. And then this past semester, I've really focused on improving the homepage, the syllabus, the the getting started module, the first impression on students. And I tried to beef up my choice in my assessments. That was a big focus of mine because when I was renewing my boards last spring, I worked a lot on differentiating not only with my instruction, but trying to differentiate with assessments. So I tried to add in more choice to each unit assessment, and I was successful in that. So aside from maybe adding in a few more rubrics and utilizing the rubrics option, I'm pretty happy with the course. And I learned a lot by reflecting on it. And then we did a video reflection on our peers splash page, our peers getting started unit, our peers pathway that they chose, and reflecting and seeing what other people are doing gave me some ideas on how to improve my course. And it made me, realize what was a strength about my course, and also, what was a weakness and how to improve that. So the time to reflect on my design for my course and really look at that was very beneficial for my course and my students. And as you can see, even just the home page, it's just so much better. And then this is my original home page here. It's it's just words, and then here it's much more user friendly and much more visual. And then even in my modules, if you look at my unit, I don't know if it was unit 2 or 3 that was so weak. Maybe both. But my unit 2, I had only that many slides there, and then I added a ton to my unit 2. Here I added more welcome, the era, and a new final assessment. And then here in unit 3 was tiny, and so I really spent a lot of time on unit 3 trying to build that up. So you can see I I added more stuff in. So it's a little confusing for people when they look at my course, because a lot of online courses are mostly asynchronous, and because mine is blended and I'm actually in a conference every single day live, a lot of the stuff that might need to be in a mostly asynchronous class can be said live or explained live with support in there, and I can load PowerPoints, PDFs, and share my screen. So, but this was a very beneficial thing for me, and I wish that I had more time to reflect on my course, or find some, other colleagues, other professionals that wouldn't mind or have the time to take a look at my course and say, hey, I really think you can improve it by doing this, that, or the other. So that's my reflection for that.